I never imagined my life would unravel just days before the happiest moment I'd ever planned. My name is Jason, I'm 31, and I had been engaged to Emily for over a year. We met in college, fell hard, and decided to get married last summer. Everyone thought we were the perfect couple, but I was about to learn a truth that shattered everything. It started with a whisper, a small, suspicious comment from a mutual friend, Claire. She texted me late one night. "Jason, I need to tell you something about Emily. It's serious." My heart stopped. I begged her to explain, but she hesitated, warning me to prepare myself. The next day, I confronted Emily, hoping it was a misunderstanding. But as soon as I showed her the messages Claire had sent, her face changed. She didn't deny it. Instead, she looked away, then whispered, "Jason, I made mistakes." What followed was a confession so painful I could barely breathe. Emily admitted she had been unfaithful. Not once, but with 3 different men, all in the months leading up to our wedding. She claimed it was a moment of confusion, a way to escape the pressure she felt, but the damage was done. I left without a word. No shouting, no begging. I packed a bag and walked away from the life I thought was mine. The silence was my shield, my armor. Friends and family were stunned. Emily cried, begged for forgiveness, but I was numb. Yet, beneath that numbness, a fire burned. I wasn't going to let her betrayal define me or my future. I began to plan, not revenge in the childish sense, but a way to reclaim my dignity and turn the tables on the lies. The first step was to gather proof. I hired a private investigator to confirm everything Claire had told me. The photos and videos that came back were worse than I imagined. Emily with one man at a hotel, another caught texting flirtatious messages, and a third whose name I hadn't even heard before. The betrayal was cold, calculated. But instead of breaking me, the evidence steeled my resolve. I wasn't going to be the punchline of this story. I would expose the truth on my terms. I took a deep breath and reached out to Emily one last time. "We need to talk," I said, my voice calm but firm. She agreed, unaware of the storm I was about to unleash. The day of our meeting, I arrived early at the cafe we used to frequent. She was there, nervously sipping coffee, eyes avoiding mine. I placed a folder on the table, the pictures, messages, everything laid bare. Her face drained of color. "Jason, please, I can explain," she stammered. But I cut her off. "No more lies. I'm done being your victim." That was the moment I realized my real revenge wasn't in hurting her back. It was in walking away with my head held high, leaving the past where it belonged. After that meeting, I cut all contact with Emily. I deleted her number, blocked her on every app, and refused to engage with anyone trying to mediate. It was time to focus on myself, to rebuild my life from the ruins she left behind. But the wound was deep. Every place, every song, every memory screamed her name. Friends asked if I wanted to go out, but I just nodded without much enthusiasm. I needed time to heal. But more than that, I wanted justice. The private investigator's files became my arsenal. I wasn't looking for revenge to humiliate Emily publicly, but I knew I needed to protect myself. So I prepared a letter to send to her closest circle, friends, family, even the men she cheated with, exposing the truth gently but firmly. Meanwhile, I started focusing on my own growth. I threw myself into work, took up new hobbies, and reconnected with old friends who reminded me of who I was before Emily. It was painful but necessary. One night, Emily's phone number popped up on my screen. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. She apologized, said she regretted everything, and begged for a second chance. I listened quietly, then told her I wasn't interested. That call was a turning point. It made me realize that my worth wasn't tied to her approval. My revenge wasn't about making her suffer, but about reclaiming my peace. Weeks later, the letter went out. The responses were mixed. Some were shocked, others angry, but most were silent. Emily's carefully constructed image started to crumble, but I stayed out of the drama. I wanted her to face the consequences without dragging myself back into the mess. Slowly, life began to feel normal again. I met new people, started dating casually, and learned to trust myself again. The scars remained, but they no longer controlled me. I wasn't the man who had walked away silently. I was the man who had chosen his own path, one free from betrayal and lies. Months passed, and the silence between Emily and me became permanent. But my mind was far from quiet. I had one last step to take, not for revenge, but for closure. I decided to confront the three men, not with anger or threats, but with truth. I wanted them to know the woman they were involved with had betrayed me and them, and that none of us deserved to be part of her lies. The first man was a co-worker of Emily's. When I met him at a cafe, he was shocked but thankful for the honesty. The second was someone I vaguely knew, and his reaction was anger, but he admitted he'd also been deceived. The third man never responded, disappearing from all social media soon after. Through these meetings, I found strength. The shared betrayal connected us in an unexpected way, reminding me that I wasn't alone in facing deception. The final act of my revenge was simple. I moved on. I sold the ring I'd bought for Emily, donated the money to a charity for victims of domestic abuse, and started a new chapter in my life. One evening, I met someone new, Sarah. She was kind, honest, and didn't carry the weight of past betrayals. With her, I learned what real respect and love felt like. Looking back, I realized my silence was my power. Leaving without a word wasn't weakness, it was strength. It was choosing peace over pain, dignity over drama. Emily's betrayal could have broken me, but instead, it made me whole again. My revenge wasn't in revenge at all. It was in reclaiming my life and refusing to be defined by her mistakes.